Hi, I would like to discuss the game Aronian Carlsen that was played relatively recently, as you can see, August 20th at Sinkfield Cup, St. Louis, United States of America. The reason for that is, even though the game ended in a fairly boring draw, I would say, pieces got exchanged and everything got exchanged and the queen endgame, and they agreed for a draw. However, there was a critical moment right here at move 20. This game hasn't been annotated yet. I wonder what the annotators would say about it, because that is an interesting game. The critical moment happened here. Specifically, there was a small Twitter fight between Ukrainian GM Mikhail Golubev and Levon Aronian. So Golubev claimed that people are so scared of Carlsen, I'm assuming he meant Aronian, that they don't even bother to go to a sharp lines, like referring to the following one. Bishop takes a7, rook takes a7, queen e1, rook e1, rook e1, king h2, and rook a7. And Mikhail says, well, white is much better here. Queen and knight are a good team, and the engine supports that statement, as you can see, like almost +1 or 0.8, big advantage for white. This is a completely forcing line, right? Bishop takes a7, queen e1, rook takes, king h2, rook a7. It says white is way better. And actually, even from human standpoint, white is better because white's queen would become active. The knight would go to f5, the queen could become active like this, and black's pieces seem not organized. So, but Aronian tweeted back that Mikhail didn't analyze thoroughly, and for black is not even risking here. That was Aronian's judgment. And then it was like very interesting to check. And the line that Golubev presents is queen d2, rook to e6, queen f4, which makes sense to activate the queen. The queen is going to c7. So rook a8, queen c7 and b5. And now he ends the analysis saying that either after 8 takes b, 8 takes b, knight f5, white is much better, or queen to b7, either way, white is much better. And indeed, you can see the evaluation is in white's favor, but actually Stockfish 9 is a weird engine. It's sometimes it remembers the analysis, sometimes it gives too big evaluation, then it drops. So here you can see that the engine prefers white. But Aronian says no. But if you're not biased, if you don't look at the engine, I'm assuming what he meant, then you would realize that black is doing at least okay. At least okay. It seems like a big statement for this position. So I took a closer look to understand what Aronian had in mind. Clearly, he did his homework here. I'm assuming he has access to a strong computer and a good engine and everything, right? So he must be right. But how? It seems that black's position is so unpleasant. So I did analyze, and it turns out that if you don't look at engine suggestions, if you just do the moves that look okay, from human point of view. By the way, there was also a move knight f5 in this position, which was worth attention. But then black, after just doing human moves, what is the worst placed piece? The rook on a7. You just improve it. Queen d4, best move according to engine, and you just improve the rook again to e8, and now the engine, it would take time to figure out that rook a to e8 is good. It actually requires some more analysis, but compared to the main line, it's not as good, as the queen is not on c7. So I took it further to just take a look, human eye, of course with the help of the engine, but I was doing the moves that come to human mind with black, and it turned out that in all the lines they lead to equality, and the engine would agree. So let's take a look. Queen f4, rook is bad, queen b8 is coming, rook a8, queen c7, pawn is hanging, b6 doesn't look good, a6 would be a problem, so b5. And now white indeed has two options, the forcing one, a takes b, both forcing, by the way. And now quiet move knight f5, and it turns out that now black has two moves, at least two, I think, that can hold equality. The first one suggested by the engine is knight to e8, which I don't find that attractive. It comes with a tempo, I must admit, but a human move is rook a2 in this position. Just why make knight passive to e8? You just go rook a2, and well, now the stockfish can see that white is not better. The best line that I could find for white was check, rook to e8, knight e8 surprisingly also possible, very surprisingly, just making knight that passive. Apparently it's holding g7, which is important, and knight d4, rook e1, and f2 is hanging f3, and after king h7, queen b5, knight comes back to f6. That's why I don't like this line. It has to come back, so why lose time? And then due to activity on second rank, something like this is coming. Black is not facing any dangers here. But a human move is rook e8 with a tempo. Queen g3, well, queen b5, I just take here, and this is just horrible. Now the rook is coming, right? So queen g3 looks dangerous, g6, knight h6 looks like winning a pawn, knight f5, and surprisingly king just go to g8, and black argues that you did win a pawn, but my rook is coming to e2, how are you gonna handle that? So a way to handle that is to go knight e3. Well, knight d4 looks that doesn't look good because of knight e4. If the pawn was on f3, that would be a good move, but knight e4. So knight e3, and then black has several moves, but the most human one, the engine says king g7. I don't know. I like knight e4 here. At first the engine says, no, it's +1. What are you doing? But now take a look, the evaluation would drop. I would do queen c7, rook takes f2, and I would give him a second to sink this one in. Knight e4 is much human move to play than what king g7 suggested. You can see zeros on second line already, and okay, we can try knight g4. I actually didn't analyze it further. Rook to f1, and we need to protect this one. And okay, let's do the best move according to engine. Queen d7, rook to e6. Knight to h6, king f8. What do you do with this knight? Misplaced completely. Queen to b5. Actually, yeah, black has to do some only moves in this position. Rook d1, human move, and you'll see equality very soon. You'll see equality very soon. And there were other moves, including knight e8 previously, that were leading to a decent position for black. Knight on h6 is misplaced. So let's come back a little bit to knight e4. It just deserves attention. There were other king g7. Okay, fine. Rook d2, it looks human to me, protecting the d5 pawn, preparing d4 maybe. In any case, black is doing very okay in this position, using just human judgment. So, and apparently knight e8 was also working. Another move that works here is knight e8 with a tempo. I checked queen d7, and now rook to a2. Well, it does have a point because the white doesn't have this idea winning that pawn. You can argue that limits black's chances. Knight to e7, king f8 only move, knight takes d5, and rook takes f2, queen b5, and now another rook comes to e2, and after knight e3, black goes f5. And actually I would be a little bit concerned if I were white in this position, because f4 is coming, then knight f6 is coming, I have two rooks on back rank, this pawn is not even close to promote. Well, black has really good chances even for a win here. So, but there was another move, another human approach that Michiel suggested. It was queen b7. He claimed that white is better here as well. And then again, using human moves, I managed to find an equality, even though the engine, at least at first, evaluated that position significantly in white's favor. So I checked rook a to e8, but it loses an important pawn and I didn't like it. So rook e to e8. For now, I have to become passive for a second. A takes b is never threatening because I have rook e to b8 and then I just recapture or keep attacking the queen. So a5 looks very promising for white, fixing the weakness. And now I just do human moves. I kick the queen again. It has to get out from my camp. What's a better place than to go to d4, right? So it looks like not a good position for black. But I continue playing human moves. Then I come back to e8. Knight goes to f5 according to ancient. I come back to e6. I'm holding that weakness and I'm protecting this one. Queen c5, the engine plays. Now I activate the second rook. And now f3 is an important move to prevent knight e4 in the future. f3, I activate my rook again. And the engine says, no, but this is bad. Take a look, +1. But give it time, give it time. Let's see, it says queen c6. Let's take a look, queen c6. I move my rook to a2. The engine said b2. a2 is also fine because a6 would be lost and I need to stop that pawn. It's a human move to play. It just was giving decisive advantage and then it drops out. So the best move according to my previous analysis was knight h6, takes, queen takes, and now another rook comes to e2. And black has no risk whatsoever after rook g6. This is a fortress. So, and knight d4 here would be a transposition. So let's come back, knight d4, rook a2 anyway, queen c6. It is a transposition, right? You can go queen c6 first, rook a2, and now knight d4, or knight d4 immediately. So it transposes. And now rook e5 is a human move. I'm threatening rook g5. A decent way to handle it is to go h4, and now I activate my rook again, rook to e3. Queen takes a6 gives big advantage. I take another pawn, human move, queen b5. Another human move is a tempo. h4 is hanging, knight f5, and after rook c2, the engine finally gives zeros. So, and if I start coming back, it would evaluate as zeros this whole line, even though it didn't suggest these moves at first glance. You just make a human, good-looking, active move, and it's working. Just guide the engine. Don't listen to it blindly. If you listen blindly, it would give like a big advantage. But if you do logical moves, the evaluation drops to equality. As you can see, this position turns out, okay, now it just found some queen c7, knight d4 ideas, but the evaluation drops down if you do human moves. So I would agree that in this position, Aronian should have played this one. It would give him decent chances to win, although, as it turns out, using just human judgment, making human moves, you can turn that position into equal or close to equal. Well, now it says knight d4 is a good move. But there was one line where the engine got it completely wrong. With at the end of one line, black had rook, knight, and the pawn on d5 versus queen, and it was giving +1 evaluation. It was so confusing to me. I find it hard to find this variation at the moment. But from human point of view, if we remove, if queen is and all the three pawns are left on, if the king side and these pieces are left, it's clear that black has no danger whatsoever. There's lots of, even without knight fortresses, you just give up for one pawn. But with knight and the pawn on d5, that never could be as bad. But the engine gives +1 in that position, and that's why it's not judging that position in a precise way. So to sum up, in a way, they were both right, I think. I think Aronian could have played this line, but I think Carlsen, using just a human approach to this situation, could have worked this out. By the way, rook a to e8 is not that bad either. Maybe even, yeah, rook a to e8 is an active approach. Takes, takes, queen takes, and now quiet move g6, and this knight on g3 is out of play. And I'm not sure how is it going to get into the game. It says f4, I don't know, h5, king g7, rook e1, all these moves look promising to me. Let's say king g7. This knight is completely cut off. I think it gives this evaluation only because it appreciates queen significantly better than rook and the knight. No, that's not the line I had in mind. Yeah, I think I lost that analysis where it was giving the queen versus, but I was so surprised to see. How can you evaluate the rook, knight, and the pawn versus queen like +1 into white's favor? Take a look, now it gives zeros. So a takes b is just not good. Queen b7 is better, but now black has two ways to handle it. Both human moves, e to e8 and then harassing the queen and coming back to e6, or going for this position, and going g6, and I think black has really, really good chances, and with human moves, black can hold this one. I hope you found this analysis interesting. There's definitely mistakes there, but the point I'm trying to make is that Aronian and I agree on that if you look with human eye, you would see that these rooks could be very active on second rank. There's lots of fortresses appearing if you give up the rook for a knight and a pawn. And you just do active moves, and black will hold this position. That's my opinion. I'm assuming Aronian has more extensive analysis of this one. I hope you enjoyed it, and see you soon. Bye.